All right, welcome back to another modern day Chautauqua. The modern day Chautauqua. Okay, YouTube, let me go live. So, I am live. So, I closed the cafe tonight, and I have to close the cafe tomorrow night. It is 12:14 a.m. on Friday, July the 17th. Okay, so tonight I have to close the cafe, and then Saturday I have off. I got Saturday off. Squirt, I know you got a full belly, and yes, I know you're a good boy, but it's time to record, and I don't have time to rub your belly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. All right, I got a little bit of time to rub your belly. Before I start the Chautauqua, I have to give Squirt Dog the obligatory belly rub. You guys hear him? Can you make a noise? Can you make an old man grunt in the microphone? Your old man grunts aren't freaking loud enough, brother. Okay, hopefully that was loud enough. So, where we left off during the modern day Chautauqua with Matt Bennett, this is Drifter Diaries is Matt Bennett's book, and where we left off, he was at the Kansas City courthouse. They told me when I got caught with reefer at the Greyhound station that it was just going to be a fine. Now there's a court date attached to it for the entire state of Missouri. This white card was a warrant card for the state, but I was now safe in Illinois, so no one could arrest me here. That's where we left off. I'm not going to read the entire rest of the chapter. He's back in Illinois. Matt Bennett is back in Illinois, and if in case you didn't know, Matt Bennett is the host of Crazy Life Stories. So if you are into this modern day Chautauqua and you want to get into Matt's modern day nuts rants, let's get Irish Cricket for the stream. If you want to hear Matt Bennett's nuts rants, make sure you tune into Crazy Life Stories, because this is Crazy Life Stories is his podcast. It's basically a continuation of Drifter Diaries. In case this is your first time here, a modern day Chautauqua is basically where I read. I find an awesome book. I read the awesome book, and then in between reading the pages of whatever said awesome book that I am reading, in between reading the pages, then I talk about it and then put in my own. I'm wearing a mask today, so you guys can't see my mouth moving, which is kind of funny. So in between the reading of the pages, I express my opinion, and then boom, we have a modern day Chautauqua. Now, the Chautauqua started with an educational movement back in the, I want to say, 50s, 60s, 70s, and the 80s. It was a modern day education movement where there were bands and all this stuff. I got the idea from the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is on my list. That book is definitely on my list of modern day Chautauquas, especially since that book is what inspired me just playing Sea of Thieves and doing this live stream, unscripted, very relaxed, very off the cuff, very improvisational. So I just basically read the book, and then I speak my opinion of said book, whatever we're reading. These Two-Hearteds have a lot of foam, by the way. Two-Hearted. Two-Hearted IPA is so good. What is up, Squirt? Squirt is showing me his belly again, so I'm sorry, I got to take a drink and rub his belly, inevitably. So we are on, according to Amazon Kindle, we are on, it says location 1,139 out of 1,596. So I don't know exactly what that means, but here we are, and hopefully I'll get through at least this chapter, and then the next book review for Beagle Eye Vision's book reviews every month, first of the month, is The Boxes. And so tonight I was hoping to finish that book of the boxes. I don't think I'll get to finish the book, but I will be able to knock out some chapters before bed. So hopefully I can get this over with, knock out as much as this book impossible. I'm already late, so it looks like I'm not gonna be getting to bed until late night because do have a lot of energy. So without further ado, we are going to continue Drifter Diaries. Excuse me. You know, I got to get some ASMR in there. Yeah, I'm channeling the young Matt Bennett. The young OG of Matt Bennett. Okay, so hopefully Sea of Thieves doesn't kick us, because we are just reading a book in the tavern. So starting from the chapter, starting from where we left off, it's called Illinois to San Diego. And this is from the perspective of Matt Bennett, for those of you who didn't know, because I'm reading Drifter Diaries. Got a job at Pottery Barn in Oak Brook, Illinois. In September, getting hired for seasonal work. I was getting a lot of hours, and life in general was going pretty well. Then I was told by my parents that I had to start going to AA meetings with this guy Kevin, who is a family friend. I didn't want to go, but of course I went. We went on this Tuesday night to this huge church on York Road and 31st Street in Oak Brook, Illinois. Walked in, sat down amongst many other people, and then, in quotes, the chairperson asked if this is anyone's first AA meeting. I raised my hand, and everyone claps. After all the announcements and anything else that needed to be said, we broke into groups, and a few of the guys took me into this room and did what's called a first step meeting. The guys basically go around telling stories and ask if you can relate. I had no choice about doing any of this, so I just said, yeah, I'm an alcoholic. The hour went by pretty fast, and THID and THID first step meeting came to an end. Okay, so this is very hard to read, I gotta say, Matt, because the font that he used, it's regular Times Roman font, or I would even say like comic. It's kind of comic-y. It's got a lot of curves to this font. But the main thing about this font is every single line has another line in the middle of every single word. So it's just hard to read. And said, yeah, I'm an alcoholic. The hour went by pretty fast, and the first step meeting came to an end, as did the rest of the other meeting. I met back up with Kevin, and we went home talking about all of this. I basically told him that I think all of this is crazy, but I'll keep going since I'm living at my parents' house. So we went every Tuesday to the same place for the meeting. Meanwhile, work was going really well. The days were rolling by, and I was saving money. I was also talking to Olivia, who was in a halfway house in Oak Park. Oh, what up, Squirt? I felt Squirt breathing on the back of my neck, and it scared the shoot out of me. And it was just Squirt sniffing. Went by, these days were rolling in. Work was going really well. The days were rolling by, and I was saving money. I was talking to Olivia, who was in a halfway house in Oak Park. I mentioned this before. I was also talking to Slobo in San Diego, and he was there saying I should come out there eventually. I said, who knows, like I always say. My birthday then came around, and it was pretty chill and lame, since I couldn't see anyone or go out with anyone. As I also mentioned before, a couple days after I got back from San Francisco, I had to sign a petition that I would not see anyone I used to hang out with. So yeah, my 33rd birthday was pretty lame, other than going out to eat with my parents and tossing the football around with my friend John. Wow, dude, so this was his 33rd birthday. I just turned 32 this year. My 33rd birthday is coming up in April. As I just said, I just announced at the beginning of this that it is now July 2026. So I turned 33 this coming April, so that is so crazy. Knowing that Matt was 33 when this book was being written, and now that he's in his 50s doing the podcast, it's so interesting to think about the timelines. So he was tossing the football around with John. But we get older and stuff happens to us, so it is what it is. And thus, in this time in life, I was also working on a documentary called People Stories, interviewing people about their lives and also making daily videos and hustling fans online day to day. Other than this stuff, nothing else was happening. Just lots of work through Thanksgiving and Christmas. Got a cool Samsung Galaxy phone and a new adventurer backpack and a few other things. Dude, I gotta say, he put it in quotes. So I'm gonna get up and move around just so Rare doesn't kick me. He put it in quotes. He put it in quotes that it was an adventurer backpack. I gotta say, those adventurer backpacks come with little water dilly-dallies to put your little water in there, dude. The adventurer backpacks are phenomenal. If it is the same item that I'm talking about, and a few other things. I suppose I should mention that I brought this here tablet, and I started People Stories and daily videos on and off, which this book I am typing up right now. And then the holidays ended and work got slow. January was one of the worst Januaries in a long time. Way too much shoveling in the snow in general. It was a really tough month to get through. Meanwhile, Slobo and I were talking about me coming out there, and also, all of a sudden, I found a job transfer through Pottery Barn. So one day I asked my manager that if I set this up, would she go ahead and approve it? She said no problem, so I went ahead and decided to go through with it. I was still going to meetings with Kevin, but getting real sick of them. I think I stopped going to them before I left to transfer. Of course, as always, my parents did not like this idea, but I still just booked a flight. But the first flight I booked was too early because I had to stick around and do inventory here in Oak Brook. Of course, the San Diego store wanted me out there for their inventory as well. The whole two places at once thing. So I canceled the first flight. Didn't even know if I was going now. It was all screwed up. Finally, I found out when I could transfer, and it was all back on. So I rebooked my flight and finished my 2 weeks up at Oak Brook. Had a couple days off before I was leaving, and I had to get a new duffel bag. I found this hilarious one at Walmart called the Adventurer, just as my backpack was called. So I had to match that right up. Packed over the next couple days, and it was off to the Midway Airport. Of course, my mom was sad I was leaving, and she said she would miss my humor, even though we don't really see eye to eye on much else. She dropped me off, and I checked my bags, and it was off to the gate to San Diego. I had to wait for a couple hours. Finally, it was time to board, and now it was really happening. I sat next to this older lady who was from San Diego and told me all about it. My iPod, of course, fell a couple rows back, so she gave me a drink ticket. I had a rum and Coke. Interesting. Matt Bennett, so you went to all those AA meetings, and as soon as you get right back on the flight, you're just going to start drinking rum and Coke immediately. And second of all, how the hell does your iPod fall? My iPod, of course, fell a couple of rows back. How did that even happen, Matt Bennett? I had a rum and Coke. The flight took a little over 4 hours. I also talked to this guy who was talking about his traveling job and how he's flown so much he's sick of it. We first had a short layover in San Jose, so we went to that airport to basically get in line for another plane to the San Diego. Got on that plane, and it was only about a 45-minute plane ride. Got to the San Diego airport, got my bags, and waited for Slobo to pick me up in his hilarious green 1967 Volkswagen. Holy shit. What a car. He came out about 10 minutes later, scooped me up, and we were off to OB, Ocean Beach, to his friend's Brandon's place. We went to the liquor store, grabbed some beer, and went to Brandon's. Basically just chilled and smoked a couple of joints and drank and talked and talked and talked. I ended up staying at Brandon's for like 4 or 5 nights, just drinking and talking about how crazy women are. After that's funny right there, man. Can't relate. After this stay was up, I went to Mission Valley to stay at Slobo and his brother's place. I stayed there for like 2 nights, started work. Slobo took me to work the first couple days. Then his brother, whose place it was, just tells me I have to leave at like midnight. Such bullshit. So we checked out this place called the Friendship Motel, a real shithole. But they were but they were closed, so we tried this place called the Padre Inn. They were still open at almost 1 a.m. So I got 2 nights because I had to go to work in the morning, and I needed a place to store my bags, and bringing them to work would not look so good. So I had to be at work at 10 a.m. the next morning, and of course I woke up late. I got dressed, ran up out of the motel, the Padre Inn. It was in part of the San Diego called the Old Town. Pretty cool area. And there was a bus transit area, so it was really easy to just hop on a bus and like 9 a.m. At like 9 a.m., hoping to make it to La Jala, where the mall was, where my job was. I made it to work with like 20 minutes to spare. I was working for Pottery Barn Kids now here in San Diego, and it was pretty weirder than regular Pottery Barn. I didn't like my manager from the start. She was a total bitch. I found it more challenging than Pottery Barn. I didn't like how the stockroom is set up, so I'm still at the Padre Inn trying to find a room for rent. It was really, really hard. No one would call or email back. Finally, after blowing like $400 at the Padre Inn, I got out of there and drifted to Pacific Beach. There was this hostel called the California Dreams Backpackers Hostel. Slobo helped me reserve a week there, but it was 1 day later than I got to Pacific Beach. So I stayed in this amazing $100 hotel right on the beach for the night. Dude, that would be amazing. That was fun. Amazing view. The hostel was also a few hops and a step from the ocean. Checked into the hostel across the street the next day. The hostel experience Will Bean, it says B-E-A-N, Will Bean experience that I shall never forget. It was a pretty cool place with people from all over the world. This cool guy, Jason, who worked at the hostel, and he was from Delaware. Then there was Sophie from France, and she and I were just hilarious together. We had a lot of fun. Then there was Chuck, a cool punk dude from Minnesota. We decided that the Midwest was now called the problem because it just sucks. Wow, Matt Bennett. Midwest is the fucking best, okay? Don't let anybody fool you. Let's get back to the material. There was also this cool guy, Jesse, from New Mexico. We got along really well and partied like crazy. Later in my stay, I also met this guy, Brandon, who was on top bunk above me. We blazed a lot. So anyways, I have a week at the hostel and am working out of it. There was a bus stop very close to the hostel that went to the mall I worked at, so that was cool. The mall I worked in was in La Jala, an extremely rich part of San Diego. It's kind of like Oak Brook with palm trees. I was still looking for a room for rent out of the hostel. I lived here for like 2 or 3 weeks. Chuck was working for a weed grower, so green was flowing. Jason and this other guy, Scott, also always had weed, so that was no problem. I was getting a decent amount of hours at work, so I always had enough to pay for the hostel and had like $700 saved still for a room for rent. About 2.5 weeks into the hostel living, I found a room for rent in La Jala, extremely close to work. It was $420 a month. That was rather fitting. So I finished my stay at the hostel and moved my stuff to this room. There were 3 of us in this 1-bedroom apartment. Are you shitting me? And moved my stuff to this room. There were 3 of us in this 1-bedroom apartment. Holy shit. This other weird Filipino young man, William, that shared a room with me, he was some kind of marketing guy who really just worked from home. He then told me that he does this weird chant shit every morning and that he would wake me up. Sheldon, the guy whose place it was weird too. He asked me a lot of questions but would not reveal anything about himself. So that was odd, but whatever. That's how that guy is. I'm reading it exactly how it's written, by the way, too. I had to work the next day after moving in. It was weird waking up in this small 1-bedroom, sleeping on the ground. After about a week of living there, 8 days, I kind of lost it. I had a day off, brought a 12-pack of crappy Natty Ice beer, and went back to the apartment to drink it. Bad decision. The night before, I got some groceries and couple of Tecates and hid in this weird sidewalk with walls, drinking 3 of these 24-ounce beers and then going upstairs, and everything was fine. This next night was not fine. Okay, so I'm going to move sections here, move sections in the restaurant, make sure Rare doesn't kick me. It was not fine, he said. So, something was not fine. I'm going to get back to the material, but I need to take a little drink here. Take a little drinky poop. And I'm so grateful I'm not drinking Natty Ice. I'm drinking an actually good beer called Two Hearted IPA. So just the thought of Natty Ice, I had to take a sip. Jesus Christ. So, this next night was not fine, all capital letters. I started drinking in the afternoon on the balcony of the apartment. I told myself I would only have like 4 or 5, but I drank 11 of the 12 right down. In this drunken stupor, I flipped out pretty bad, and I guess I told Sheldon and William that I hated my job and I wanted to go up to LA to become a comedian. So the next day when I woke up, Sheldon told me that he had already found someone else to move in, and that would give me the majority of my money back. I found another room for rent immediately and was going to check it out in a couple of days. In between checking out this other room for rent, I stayed at Slobo and his brother's place for Placia night. I'm sure that's a typo. For Placa night? For Place a night? And called the Easy 8 Motel back in Old Town. This room I was going to check out was in Ocean Beach. That Saturday was an interesting day. I woke up at Slobo's, and he had to go to his second job, so we had to quickly leave. I had to work at like 3 or something, and he had to be at work at 11 a.m. So I hung out at this restaurant, and he was only supposed to work until 2, so then he was going to drive me to work. He ended up having to stay at work longer than expected, so I had to take this trolley to work instead. So I got on the trolley, but after a bit, it just breaks down. Then I realized I'm going the wrong way and I couldn't get off. What? Only freaking Matt Bennett. So I end up all the way at the end of the trolley in this place. Sanatee. Sanatee. And by now, there was no way I was going to get to work. I called him on the trolley and first told him I was going to be late. And then when I got really lost, I told him that I was too lost to come to work today. So I ended up just going to Salvation Army and picking up a couple of random things, getting some cigars and some food, found a place to call Slobo and tell him what happened, and then took a trolley back to Old Town to get a room to the Easy 8 Motel for the night. Guys, you gotta imagine, this is, like, during this whole story, he said he had a tablet, but during this story, like, I can't imagine, like, he has to make phone calls on landlines. I'm assuming he doesn't have a cell phone. But, I mean, this is a crazy time. So where did I leave off? Oh, the Easy 8 Motel for the night. Told some guy my trolley story and got home for the night. Slobo and some girl, Gwen, came over later. Went out for a beer, smoked a couple bowls, and that was the night. Stayed up in my room for a while, smoked another bowl or two, and passed out. Woke up around 10 a.m. and texted this guy about a room. He said I could come by around noon or 1 p.m. I talked to Slobo, and he come and get me to take me to this room for rent. We go there and I knock on the door, and there's no answer. I wait like 10 minutes, and then this guy comes out and tells me he's the guy's roommate, and says Russ, the guy I was looking for, is inside sleeping. And he said I could go in and wake him up. So I walk in the door, and this dude Russ is sleeping on his couch. I awkwardly stand over him and attempt to wake him up. Eventually, he does wake up, and is a little weirded out that I'm just standing there. So then I tell him I'm there for the room, and we start talking about it. I caught him lying about the security. I caught him lying about the security deposit that was not mentioned on Craigslist, and he said, "Oh no, there's always a deposit." Even though the room I came from had no deposit. Even though the room I came from had no deposit. Interesting. I didn't have enough money for the first month's and security deposit, so I told him I'd think about it. He texted me a bit later saying we could work out a deal, but I had already gone back to the hostel for another week. So it was back to the crazy 7 days a week partying and working insanity once again. Just like thinking of the back rooms, like having Matt Bennett stand over this guy. He's like, "Hey, I'm here to rent the room," and this guy's just half asleep. It makes me think of the Backrooms movie, the California dude with the end apartheid shirt. That's all I'm thinking of right now. So it was back to crazy 7 days a week partying and working insanity once again. I think I stayed another 2 weeks, and by the end of the second week, I lost my mind again, wasted, broke down, and threw a green plastic lawn chair outside the hostel out into the street. This got me kicked out of the California Dreams hostel for good. I then tried to get into this other hostel down the road, but you needed some kind of proof of travel, so I was denied here as well. I told them to fuck off. In my drunken stupor, the only option left was now the streets. I mean, I could see the frustration, but yeah, you definitely got to be careful what you say in a drunken stupor, Matt Bennett. The first night on the streets, I met these two cool musicians. One was called Chong because he looked exactly like Tommy Chong. I forget the other guy's name, but it will come to me. They were a duo who played for money on the streets. Chong had both of his feet broken and rode around on his three-wheeler bike. Anyways, we started talking. I told him I had just got thrown out of a hostel and had to crash here on the concrete benches right on the ocean. They said no problem. We talked about how no one gets artists. The other not Chong dude said his ex-girlfriend just basically threw him out for no reason. Anyways, tried to sleep. Didn't really happen except for a couple hours and woke up pretty early. We were sleeping on what's called the boardwalk, this long, large sidewalk where hundreds, at least, of people walk down every day. And now there is a YouTube link, which I'm going to copy that. I'm going to type this YouTube link into YouTube and see what pops up. Yeah, it just says no results found. So that YouTube link does not work. Is that the same one that I typed in the freaking... Some of these have worked, so I'm going to just type it here. Type it straight into the bar. See, that one, the video is unavailable. See, some of these YouTube links do work and some of them do not work. Okay, so the sidewalk. He's sleeping at the boardwalk. It's all along the Pacific Ocean and the Pacific Beach. Anyways, the next day I was off work and we're just hanging out with these musicians dudes and watching my bags. Then this random other guy with a guitar comes up to me, introduced himself as Devin. He then starts telling me he wants to start to make this movie about the homeless scene and what he was calling extreme camping adventures. So I say, well, I have a lot of film experience, so I'm your man. Then I got a great idea to get a storage for my stuff, as I have learned from San Francisco. So I set that up, put my stuff in the storage locker, and now I was back to being my favorite, a backpack drifter. And that's in all capital letters. Hell yeah, that's awesome. He's back to being a backpack drifter. I smell dog ears. I smell Frito-Lay dog ears, and it makes me want to go to bed. But we got a little bit more. I got to finish at least this chapter. Wow, this is a long chapter. I'm going to be reading for a while. Wait a minute. Right here, I found my spot. Okay. Being a backpack drifter. And since I took another drink, let's just go sit outside the tavern. All right. What a beautiful sight right there. Hey, look, we're twinning. Twinning! All right, so being a drifter. I was pretty happy like this at first. I still had my Pottery Barn Kids job in La Jala and got food stamps the next day. It was huge to have those 2 days off. Anyways, I noticed right away that Devin was a meth freak. He seemed to care about this the most. As I said, the next day I had to gather pay stubs. Hold on, I gotta put my glasses back on. Maybe turn. Oh, the brightness is up. Put my glasses back on here. All right. Anyways, I noticed right away he was a meth freak. Gather pay stubs. I used the hostel's address and took 2 or 3 buses kind of far to get food stamps. It was a fun adventure. I thought I found the right building, but got a bit lost. I asked some people at a random government building, and they took a bit to look it up. They told me where to go, and I didn't have much time to get there, but made it with like 5 minutes to spare. The process here was a lot easier than San Fran, and I didn't wait very long. Filled out a bunch of paperwork, sat down with a caseworker, answered a bunch of questions, and that was that. My card was going to be ready, and only had to wait like an hour to get them. I think I got like $150 a month, so that was pretty cool. So now my belongings had a home. I had food stamps and a job, but was homeless. Interesting situation. Devin then introduced me to this guy, Ivan, who was known as Scout. He was going to be part of the film as well, and was on the street now as well after getting fired from this bar called 7 to 10. Scout was from New York City. He had lived on the streets there as well for years and also wrote books. He was pretty brilliant, and we got along very well. Here's another YouTube link. Now I'm going to... I'm going to try this YouTube link, right? Try this one as well. Might as well. See what pops up. No result found. So right away after the other video, I'm assuming it's not available. As days went on, I met a bunch of other homeless characters. One guy, Oleg, from Russia, who was pretty cool. Also, this guy Rashid, this wigger meth head. He weirded me out at first, but we became pretty good friends. One night, when Scout found this sheet of like 500, not exaggerating, hits of acid, Oleg, Rashid, and I took some, and Rashid was on meth as well. He took Oleg and I to this weird homeless hangout place to charge my phone. Then we went to this weird park in the middle of the night, and we're swinging on swings on LSD. Meanwhile, I was still working. Then, after work, I'd go back to Pacific Beach to see what kind of drama was going on there at our camp. I was still friends with most people at the hostel, and would occasionally sneak in when this semi-owner guy, Planko, wasn't there. Chuck, Jason, Sophie would smoke a few bowls, and then I'd get out. Meanwhile, everybody's drug use at our camp was getting heavier, and it started appearing that this extreme camping film was probably not going to happen. Oh, I see. But I figured I would hang in there on the streets working to see where this goes. There was this super crazy guy, Jerry, who was always drunk and claimed he owned this one part of the boardwalk, and it was his territory on the streets. He was fucking crazy. He would just yell at everyone. He was an asshole to me and a lot of other people. Then there was this drifter, Rodney, from Austin, Texas. He was really cool and chill. We would sit there and stare at the ocean and smoke bowls and just look at each other and laugh, not even really knowing what about. So I'd work and then find the gathering. Sometimes Slobo would come to PB, which is the Point Beach. I forget, Pacific Beach. Slobo would come to hang out at PB, and we'd smoke a J or two to hang out and talk, and then he'd take off back to Mission Valley, and I'd go back to my concrete bench. All the bums and drifters would meet at this. All the drifters and bums would meet at this McDonald's because they had free coffee. There was also these feeds, some at churches, and this one a couple streets down from where we were set up camp. Free food. Oh, yeah. That's how Matt Bennett talks, too, by the way. There was also this guy, Smalls, who I grew to know. Fellow pothead. Then I found out he was a crackhead, too. I smoked crack with him one night. All night. He was a small dude in his 20s, hence Smalls. From San Francisco, or as he called it, San Francisco. There was a bunch of other bums, all with interesting stories. Random kids would always come around our camp on skateboards and rollerblades selling weed. Scout and Devin started to not get along after a while, which put a strain on all of us hanging out or getting anything accomplished. Devin stole whatever he could to get meth. That's all he cared about, so he got old. Scout and I would walk around bitching about Devin. Again, the homeless theft, bum, game over drugs. Wait, what? Again, the homeless theft, bum, game over drugs started happening, just like San Fran. But not as intense. I did this lifestyle for like a month with Slobo bitching at me to get off the streets, but I never had enough money to get back into a place because I was always partying. Then I met this crazy native guy and his wife, and we partied one night. I think I almost puked on his shoes or something. We would talk about how people took over their land and all this out there stuff. Okay. They would talk about how people took over their land and all this out there stuff. We stayed up all night, and then the next day he asked me if I wanted to go to National City, which is only a few miles from Mexico, to score some meth to do and sell. At this point, I was like, why the hell not? So we take like 3 buses plus the trolley transit and finally get there like 2 hours later. We each put in like $45 and got a decent amount of meth. Jesus Christ, man. I did my first line, and it was really, really good. I can't say that word on YouTube. I was inebriated for a long, long time. As they say, METH does to you, only after one line. The native dude gave me the rest to hold on until we got back to cell. He didn't really explain very well how to break it up to sell. I got a customer, and I guess I gave him way too much for $10. Then I sold another customer too much for $20. I had no idea what I was doing, nor did I care. By nighttime, he asked me for money, and I only gave him like $40-some, and he said I owed him like $200 or some bullshit, even though it wasn't broken up right. I did not think there was that much there, as we only paid $90 total for this one rock of it. Eventually, I gave him another $25 as we somehow figured out some deal in a drunken state. Everyone then was cool, and that was that excursion. National City was a complete shithole. Lots of drugged out people and homeless and just plain weirdos. So that wasn't the best setup. It made me look like not so good of a drug dealer. Wow. Let me get farther on the beach here. Just moving around so Rare doesn't kick me. And nobody's tuned in anyway. Nobody cares about the modern day Chautauqua. Nobody cares about no modern day educational movement. Not that, Drifter Diaries is educational. I mean, I guess it could be educational in some ways, depending on how you look at it. But I'm just going to sit right here. Move around, take another seat. I am going to take another drink just to wet the whistle. All right. Excuse me. I forgot to mention the other really significant night of ultimate madness and bliss. Scout, Oleg, and I were tripping on this acid really late at night, and this random 20-something girl comes up to us, obviously drunk, but really hot, open-minded, and cool. She kept talking about making a bonfire on the beach. Scout, Oleg, and I were like, no, it's 4 a.m. We don't think that it's a good idea. It's too vulnerable of a time of night. She kept insisting, and all of a sudden she's like, you guys wanted to go to this gnarly cave in Ocean Beach? Scout said, no, he really needed to sleep. I was pretty sure I had to work the next day at 11 a.m. But Oleg and I decided to go with her. Dude, this is the main part of the book that I remember. This is divine. I love this part of the book. 11 a.m. But Oleg and I decided to go with her. We first went back to her apartment, not too far from the beach. We hung out there for a bit, then somehow found a store that was open that had firewood. We took off to Ocean Beach and got to this random place, Sunset Cliffs. We had to climb all these rocks and cross a few logs over water. Oleg and I were still tripping in the dark, climbing these rocks, while it was also raining. Nuts! Excuse me. We got to one little beach, and then there was still more rocks to climb over. We finally got to this really cool cave around 5 a.m. We made a fire in the cave, and each enjoyed a beer. Dude, that sounds so phenomenal. And a couple of... cigarettes? You're disgusting. The sun was now almost coming up, and the three of us, I guess that's a typo, watching the sunrise inside of a cave. Then we left to go get more beer, and I left like 2 jackets there because I thought we were coming back. Well, we were going to, but it didn't happen. Instead, we went to this random burrito place, and she bought us these huge breakfast burritos for going through this journey with her. I still thought I had to work at 11 a.m. It was around 8:30 a.m. now. After breakfast, we drove around OB for a bit, and Lauren, our new adventurer friend, wanted to buy some weed. We found this really weird-looking dude who went by Beastie. He was an ugly, awkward dude. That's even how he introduced himself like that. I'm not trying to discriminate. He ran this brilliant weed operation in OB, so we followed his directions and met him in this weird alley. I think by his house. Some guy came by on a bike a few minutes later like clockwork and dropped off a bag to Beastie. Only in Cali. Then Beastie takes us to this amazing pier out in the ocean, and along the way is talking about how all the cops respect him and how he's really smart. And we just started smoking a couple bowls, and then back to where we parked and took off after Beastie was macking on Lauren. We took off to La Jala, with me GPSing the route because Lauren had no clue where she was going, even though she had lived in the San Diego longer than I had even been there. I got to the mall with like 10 minutes to change and get to work, so I was in a late rush mode. I got there, changed clothes in the mall bathroom, and walked into work late. I then realized that my phone fell out of my pocket into Lauren's car, so I'm at work in a foreign city with no phone. I just kept telling myself not to panic and just stay calm. I then found out that I came into work on the wrong day, so none of this even had to happen, one of those moments. Phoneless for a few days now, I did text my mom from my buddy Rashid's phone. As I had let him use mine before, it was cool, and it's cool when people reciprocate the gesture. I did get a flip phone when I went to National City by a Walgreens. By this point, I was starting to get a bit fed up with all the street people and the streets in general. I would go to the library and talk to people via email and Facebook. I was going off pretty back on the book, whatever. Oh, Facebook. I had a really bad moment when I got kicked out of the hostel and said a lot of fuck yous and I'm going to kill myself to the world. Kind of an ugly moment, to say the least. So the straw that broke the camel's back was when I was lying in the grass outside of the library with only a few texts on my flip phone, and my mom finally asked if this was the life I wanted, or did I want to try and get some help. I thought about all of it and decided it was time to try rehab. Slobo picked me up a few days later, let me stay at his place, let me shower the last couple nights. Then it was time to go to the airport. It was a Monday. As for Pottery Barn Kids, it got to the point where one of the managers figured out I was homeless due to the lack of showering. So after this happened, I finished out my shift and wrote my GM a note saying this isn't going to work out. I attempted to put in a 2 weeks in. Got through one of them before I was just on a plane back to Chicago. My parents picked me up from the airport. I grabbed my tattered bags and we went and got some food. They then said, we're going to take you somewhere you probably don't want to go tomorrow. And I said, yeah, rehab. And they said, yep. I said I was ready to go, so we ate some food. I stayed at my parents' house for the night. And at 8 a.m. in the next morning, we were off to Rosecrans in Rockford, Illinois. One last funny thing that came to mind was after a while of going into the mall food court to use the bathroom to change my clothes for work, this Japanese guy working at a Japanese fast food place caught on to me doing what I was doing and would give me weird looks. Anyways, the Rosecrans Treatment Center is next. Stay tuned. Rosecrans in Rockford. That is the next chapter. So, the reason why I wanted to do this modern day Chautauqua is because, number one, it's been a while. And number two, actually, before I sign off here, the next chapter is Rosecrans in Rockford, just saying it out loud for my own memory. And number two, I found this amazing, legendary human being today, before I went to work. Goodness gracious. What was I saying? Shoot. I'm too tired. So that's where we left off for the Matt Bennett Drifter Diaries. Oh, the reasons why I wanted to do this specific episode of the modern day Chautauqua is because I found an amazing person. This amazing person is named Lucy Parsons, and she is an anarchist. She's an amazing anarchist. Her and her husband are phenomenal people, and especially with this point in time in history, anarchists do not get any love whatsoever. So I really want to get this Drifter Diaries modern day Chautauqua over with, and then I want to do a modern day Chautauqua literally only on this person, Lucy Parsons. So that's going to be the next, and then the next book for the Chautauqua will be the unveiling written by Dennis Gilmore. But as of right now, 1:03 in the morning, I gotta get to bed. I gotta close the restaurant tomorrow. I'm sure Squirt Dog wants me to be sleeping with him because he's a cuddle bug. But I just want to say this quote because Lucy Parsons seems like a phenomenal individual, and just in 2026, we are severely lacking phenomenal individuals. So I just wanted to say this quote that I found today about Lucy Parsons. Or this is what Lucy Parsons said in a period of time when she was alive. Lucy Parsons said, "Anarchists know that a long period of education must precede any great fundamental change in society. Hence, they do not believe in vote begging nor political campaigns, but rather in the development of self-thinking individuals." And that quote is spot on. That quote is spot on about literally anything that has to do with anarchy. That nails anarchy and anarchists, true anarchy and true anarchism, to a T. That quote is spot on from Lucy Parsons, and I absolutely cannot wait to do the modern day Chautauqua on Lucy Parsons. Hopefully, up until that point of doing the modern day Chautauqua, hopefully maybe I can, I'm going to be doing my best to try to find a book, any book, on Lucy Parsons, which is going to be very difficult. Finding any book on any true anarchists is next to impossible. I mean, you really have to know where to look. Seriously. But anyways, this is a modern day Chautauqua. Next modern day Chautauqua, we will be hopefully beginning to wrap up Crazy Life Stories. I don't know when the next one will be. Whenever it be, shall be. Shout out to Eddie Money. That is a really good song about Eddie Money. But anyways, stay tuned, stay gold. I gotta go to bed for work and close the cafe tomorrow. So do your best to stay tuned, stay gold. If you want to support the channel, use code BeagleEyeVision at w.gg for 10% off your entire purchase. And once again, stay tuned, stay gold. I'll give you the old wave. Give you the old wave send off. Stay tuned, stay gold, everybody. Beagle Eye Visions appreciates you, and Beagle Eye Visions loves you. Beagle Eye Visions loves you very much. Go see the back rooms.